Testing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Testing. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This will be a recording of the annual meeting, 5th District, Georgia State Nurses Association, held on September the 9th, 4:30 p.m. at St. Joseph's Infirmary.
Will the 1965 annual business session, 5th District, Georgia State Nurses Association, please come to order. At this time, we'll ask Parliamentarian Ms. Hudson if she will open our meeting with prayer. Maybe you better remain seated.
Now, Heavenly Father, as we come into thy presence, we ask thee to still our hearts with thy love and with thy spirit. And let not our unworthiness stand between thee and the members of this body as we join together in prayer. Hear not the voice that speaks, but listen to the yearnings of the hearts of everyone here, now open to thee. May we forget all else save our deep need for thy guidance and for thy help. Shed thy love abroad in our hearts that we may approach our problems with grace and wisdom, which can come only from thee. May we reach up to thee as thou dost reach down to us. Cleanse all selfish motives from our hearts and temper our speech, lest thy cutting words we may hurt our colleagues, and the cause for which we speak. Make us willing to open our hearts to one another. Renew thy spirit within us. Renew the spirit of faith, hope, and charity in our hearts. And may we begin the business of the day and the discharge of our duties and responsibilities with asking and seeking the guidance of thy Holy Spirit. When we are wrong, make us willing to change. And where we are right, make us easy to live with. Hear our prayer, O Lord, and help us through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you, Ms. Hudson. We'll have the roll call at this time by the Secretary of Section.
CESR.
The Registrar.
Executive Secretary. That's the national section. We go into the
We have
EACP
another
and local.
registrar here.
EACP.
occupational health. Public health.
It's hard to start up there, please, you can't.
1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 56, 58, 59, 60, 61.
Private duty. Start right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You're 7.
9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 21, 22,
Ms. White. Oh, right here.
23, 24, 25,
26.
27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66.
All right. 67. Up here, 69, 70. 70.
71, 73, 74, 75, 76, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85.
86. 9. 91.
Do you want to repeat, Madam Chairman? Would she mind repeating it so we'd have the totals on here? And when I mentioned that, it's being national, when I mentioned for this one being national, count us in local on that. If you don't mind calling the total so we'll have it on the recorder.
You don't want the CESR then?
No, count it in with the EATC.
Two more general duties. All right, the total, we have the EACP first, 21, administrative 38, general duty 11, occupational health 2, public health 63, and private duty 91.
Does that 21 include the 4 CESRs?
No, then where does that go?
Add them to the EACT section.
Okay, make that
I meant to tell that to Miss Davis.
25 then.
That's right, 25.
EACT.
It goes on Miss Davis' report instead of yours.
According to my figures, we have over 200 members. This is wonderful.
We have a lot of girls can't get here, you know. Couldn't we make some arrangements about that some way?
Somebody said that they were gonna call Paul to let the girls be relieved long after
are these over here? Deacon's private duty.
Here, two private.
Two private duty.
One occupational health, one private duty, and one administrative.
One
Two administrative. Three administrative.
27, 28, 93 private.
I wonder if we could refrain from the undercurrent. It really complicates the case when you try to get minutes off of the tape and this undercurrent clouds it.
Well, we'll be allowed to call the nurses so they can come down. When you get ready to vote.
It doesn't make a difference to
Private
me if
duty.
that's what you want.
You may go call.
You wouldn't go call it.
At this time, we'll have the reading of the minutes of the call meeting of April 29 by the secretary. I regret to tell you that we were not able to circulate or even develop a copy of the meter to give reports to you. But as you noticed in the notice that went to you of this meeting, our finances did not permit a copy of the meter for August or November. It's all in red. So we'll have to listen to the minutes of the secretary so that they can be approved and filed at this time.
Before I read the minutes, as they are quite lengthy, I would like to make a statement. Incorporated in these minutes is a special ruling from our state parliamentarian, Ms. Esther Watt, and in order to put this in the minutes, I took from Robert's Rules of Order, because these minutes ordinarily are published, as you know, and circulated in our district meeting. In keeping the minutes, much depends upon the kind of meeting and whether the minutes are to be published. Whether the proceedings are published, the methods shown further should be followed. If the report is of great importance, the assembly should order it to be entered on the in the minutes, in which case the secretary copies it in full upon the record. And on page 250, this is excerpt from minutes to be published, it says, when the minutes are to be published, in addition to the strict record of what is done and heretofore described, they should contain lists of the speakers on each side of every question. Reports of committees should be printed exactly as submitted, and in this way the reader can see exactly what the committee reported and also exactly what the assembly adopted or endorsed. And of course, having this in the minutes would also let any other officers at some later date read our minutes and see exactly what went on at this special call meeting.
Madam Chairman, may I rise to point of order? The secretary has just read that if a lengthy report is incorporated in the minutes as a part of the minutes, then it must be by the vote of the assembly there. Therefore, I would like to make a motion that the report which was read by Ms. Hudson, that was written by Mrs. Watts, be attached to the minutes, and that it be referred to in the minutes in a statement which says the report as read and is attached is available for those to read. I therefore make that motion written here.
You haven't read the minutes yet.
resolution written by Ms. Watts, read by Ms. Hudson at the preceding meeting be attached to the minutes, and that the reference to it in the minutes be a statement to the effect that such a report was read and is an attached report rather than a part of the minutes as such. And this motion has been seconded by Ms. Wade. Are you ready to discuss this question?
My question.
Yes,
I
Ms.
feel we're meeting because today we were not here and did not have the benefit of that reported thing from there being right. And I feel that everyone should have a, even though we heard it that time, had a review and the benefit of those who were not here, that they hear it.
I think the question is that it not be included in the minutes rather than not be read. Isn't this right?
Right.
As I understand it.
I'd like to say that in this way, that it sometimes gets lost, and I think it would be much better to have them incorporated in our minutes so that in further years to come, that the officers or the members could go to 5th District and read it and know exactly what went on.
I think that's right.
I think that's right.
Madam Clerk, that's what I was, going to say, this is available to all members, and if they want to go down and read it, it's in the office, and they can go down and read it. I do not think we should take up the time again. But to read this, it certainly should be incorporated in the minutes.
I believe this is a point of question of debate, and debate is not, as a rule, incorporated into the minutes.
Ms. Litchfield, if you have your...
Well, I'm for, and I don't know whether it's unanimous.
We're debating a point that isn't even an issue. This material was circulated to everybody present that day. The certain amount of material was read. This motion means it would be on file at headquarters and people could read it. They would have access to it. I think it's superfluous to put this into our minutes, particularly if we're going to print the minutes. It would take 2 or 3 meters to get the stuff in. And no action was taken on it by this body whatsoever. So therefore, it seems to me we're a little too much concerned about a little bit of nothing.
For the benefit of those that were not here at that meeting, could we have the minutes read? And then we'll all know a little bit more about what's being.
Well, we'll vote on the motion first.
Oh, well, doesn't this pertain to the
Yes,
minutes?
it does. Not reading the minutes.
Well, I mean, we didn't have the minutes printed. So the minutes were not circulated prior to this meeting. Well, then, could we have the minutes read at this time?
I second the motion.
I believe it was out of order to accept this motion right now until after the minutes were read. You had already called for the minutes to be read. Then that motion can be entertained if they want to.
Well, I move that we defer action on this motion until the minutes are read.
Are you offering this a substitute motion?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you write it, please?
I second.
We defer action on the present.
Lost.
Made, because the secretary referred to why she was writing the minutes as she was writing. The motion has to do with the first statement that the secretary made.
Yes.
It seems like to me, not possible that we read the minutes when a motion has been made to a certain part of it not be read. I mean, it seems like the assembly has the opportunity and the right to vote whether they want the minutes as they are or not. The secretary has already said what she was going to read.
Madam Chairman, you haven't heard the minutes yet, and they were called to be read. I'm just explaining why I have the minutes as they are. Then you may decide after you've heard them, whether you like them as they are or change them.
The only
Think you
thing
should
I'm
hear 'em.
saying is that the thing that you read said that if the assembly voted to hear them in that way, the
No.
first statement that you read from the Bible,
Read it again.
and so we've given the opposition
I will. Let's repeat.
Madam President, I rise to a point of order. I believe the only way to clarify this as a point of order is to have the parliamentarian rule on it. I mean the entire motion in its entirety. That's what we are arguing about.
I'm just supposed to read.
That's a point of order.
Why don't you just put that name, anytime the article
Ask me, in the absence of a parliamentarian, if I would act as parliamentarian. And the only rules that I, go by really and truly are the ones that, get the feeling of the group and that, get the will of the group. And my feeling at this time is that we would vote on the substitute motion, and then later, after the minutes are read, as that goes, on whether or not the discussion referred to should be included in our permanent minutes.
You've had the ruling of the parliamentarian, and I think there's a further discussion on the substitute motion.
I don't think the parliamentarian made the rules. She said she'd be going for what the parliamentarian did.
But a question's been called by whom? William Thompson.
Please read the substitute motion.
The substitute motion is that we defer action on the present motion on the floor until the minutes are read. Those in favor of the substitute motion, will you please rise? If you please be seated, and those opposed, rise. I believe the motion is carried. We'll listen to the minutes as a reading of the minutes.
Minutes, 5th District, Georgia State Nurses Association, special call meeting, April 29th, 1965. Special call meeting of the 5th District GSNA was held Thursday, April the 29th, 1965, at 4:30 p.m., St. Joseph Infirmary. Ms. Ditchfield made a motion that only members of this 5th District GSNA and the organization's legal counsel, parliamentarians, be permitted in this meeting. Yes, 157, no 81, the motion was carried. All non-members were requested to leave. Chaplain, Ms. Dana Hudson, gave the prayer. Roll call was made by section. Administrators 40, EATC 34, General Duty 11, occupational health 3, private duty 81, public health 65, making a total membership of 234 members present. The purpose of the meeting was read by the President, Mrs. Garland, from the district meter as follows. Pursuant to appropriate request made under the provisions of Article 13, Section 3 of the bylaws, a special meeting of the association is hereby called. The same to be held on Thursday, April the 29th, 1965, at 4:30 p.m. in the auditorium of St. Joseph's Infirmary. The business to be transacted at said meeting shall be that of re-examination and reconsideration of the action taken at the March 11th, 1965 regular meeting in adopting certain provisions of the bylaws, together with such matters as may relate directly thereto, and the taking of such further action, if any, as may be deemed necessary and proper in connection therewith. A motion was made, all business acted upon in the March 11th meeting, 5th District GSNA, be rescinded. It's served to Ms. Mahaffey. Discussion now open from the floor. Ms. Hudson read the report of Mrs. Esther Watts, parliamentarian of the Georgia State Nurses Association, as follows. A manual defining the policies and procedure of the 5th District of GSNA states that the digest authority in the district, that the highest authority in the district is 1. Law of state, 2. Certificate of incorporation, 3. The bylaws, GSNA. The same manual further provides that the executive board is charged with the authority of management. The bylaws of an organization is a contract between the members and the organization, and this protects the rights of all members. The bylaws of the 5th District GSNA prescribe the procedure for amendments as follows. Article 20, Section 1. Bylaws may be adopted, amended, or repealed at any annual meeting or regular meeting by a 2/3 vote of the members present, provided that 2 weeks' notice has been given. Section 2. These bylaws may be amended at any annual meeting by unanimous vote without previous notice. Section 3. 6 copies of all proposed bylaws shall be sent to the Georgia State Nurses Association headquarters for the Georgia State Nurses Association Committee on Bylaws to approve before same are presented to this association for adoption. And when approval by the State Committee and the Georgia State Nurses Association Executive Board shall then be presented to this association. If adopted without change, they shall then be printed. If any change is made, the revision shall again be sent to the Georgia State Nurses Association Committee on Bylaws for further approval. After completed and printed, 2 copies shall be sent to the Executive Secretary of the Georgia State Nurses Association. Article 15, Section 11. The Committee on Bylaws shall be composed of at least 3 members. This committee shall receive all proposed amendments to the bylaws of this association. It shall be responsible for submitting 6 copies of all proposed revisions to and securing the opinion of the Committee on Bylaws of the Georgia State Nurses Association with regard to same, and shall propose amendments for action to the voting body at the annual meeting in accordance with these bylaws. After the review of such amendments or revisions by the Board of Directors of this association, it shall be responsible for securing an opinion from the Georgia State Nurses Association Committee on Bylaws with regard to same, and shall recommend action, therefore, to the Board of Directors of this association. Such proposed amendments shall be submitted for action to the voting body of this association in accordance with the provisions for amendments in these bylaws. The committee shall review the rules of all sections. The committee shall report its findings to the Board of Directors for approval. While it is true that duly assembled members may override an action of the Board of Directors, they may not override authority granted to the Board of Directors by the bylaws without amending the bylaws. For example, Article 15, Section 11, specifically states that the committee shall report its findings to the Board of Directors for approval. This constitutes an authority granted to the Board of Directors by the bylaws. In view of the fact that the proposed amendments were legally voted upon and rejected at the January meeting, the matter up again bringing the bylaws for a vote at a subsequent meeting should have been referred to the Committee on Bylaws and brought by the committee to the Board of Directors for approval. A motion appearing in the statement of facts shows that the Board of Directors shall not recommend that the bylaws be brought again to the Assembly. Relevant to the notice to vote again on the bylaws appearing in the March 1965 district meter, we fail to find in the bylaws any authority for anyone to place such a notice except upon approval of the Board of Directors. If this notice was published before the Board of Directors met, then the notice was published illegally. Upon examination of the notice appearing in March district meter, we find only errors of conformity mentioned specifically. It did not carry the full record of proposed amendments to be voted upon. Official notice. In order for the 5th District GSNA to retain its status as a constituent, there are specific points on which the bylaws of the state and district must conform to the bylaws of the American Nurses Association. Therefore, the proposed revisions of bylaws will again be presented to the 5th District Association for vote on March the 11th, 4:30 p.m., the regular meeting scheduled at St. Joseph Infirmary. The errors of conformity are as follows: members and associates, qualifications for members and privileges of membership, transfer of membership or associate status, disciplinary action and rights of members and associates to appeal, reinstatement dues, amount of SNA and ANA dues, association dues for new graduates, payment of dues to the SNA officers, and duties of officers, representations at conventions or special meetings of the SNA. Sections, definitions of a section, if district has sections, definition of a branch, if district has branches. Since the motion did not spell out that Old Article 8, Section 1, and Old Article 14, Section 10 would be presented for amendment, the notice was not sufficient descriptive. Proposed new Article 9, Section 1, the officers and chairman of organized sections of the 5th District of the Georgia State Nurses Association shall constitute the Board of Directors of this association. The chairman of the Registry Committee shall be an ex officio member of the board without vote. Proposed Article 15, Section 10, J. There shall be an advisory committee to the Committee on Registry. The members shall include the Director of Nursing Service of each hospital participant, a member representing the medical profession, and a member representing private duty nurses, to be appointed annually by the Board of Directors. The purpose of this committee shall be to serve in an advisory capacity to the Committee on Registry in meeting problems associated with the effective administration of the Professional Nurses Registry. The chairman, vice chairman, or representative of the advisory committee shall attend all meetings of the Committee on Registry. Then further appeared in the April district meter in statement of facts the following. March the 11th, at the regular meeting of the membership, a motion was adopted that the membership exercise its right to consider and vote on the bylaws amendment, which had had ample time for complete study. This procedure was based on the principle that the decision of the total membership takes precedence over the decision of any specific group therein in the association. This would be valid only if the total membership, which means every member of the association was present and voting. The minutes as printed in the same issue shows the membership to be 700 plus, and that only 137 members were present at the March 11th meeting. Further, we must point out that in Article 20, Section 1, quote, bylaws may be adopted, amended, or repealed at any annual meeting or regular meeting, and therefore are not in order to be voted on in a special meeting. We find in Robert's Rules of Order Revised, page 201 and 47, votes that are null and void, even if unanimous. No motion is in order that conflicts with the bylaws of the notion, of the nation or state, or with the Assembly's constitution or bylaws. And if such a motion is adopted, even by unanimous vote, it is null and void. A motion was made that no person speak longer than 2 minutes and no more than twice on any issue without the majority approval, consent of the voting body present. Majority vote carries. Questions were now directed to Mr. McClellan as to the legality of the action taken in the March meeting. He refused to declare the action taken in the March meeting, 5th District GSNA, to be either legal or illegal. A majority voted to end discussion and to vote on the motion. I move all business acted upon in the March 5th District GSNA meeting be rescinded. It's served to Ms. Mahaffey. Yes voted, 90 voted yes, and 164 no. The motion was lost because we needed a 2/3 vote. The President said, do I hear a motion to adjourn? The meeting was adjourned by mutual consent at 6 p.m. Submitted by Jean M. Alford, Secretary.
Before we act on the acceptance of the minutes, I would like to point out that even though Robert's Rules of Order has been quoted, where these problems are taken care of in the manual or the bylaws, Robert's Rules of Order are not used. In the manual taken from the American Nurses Association and the Georgia State Nurses Association, the statement, the policy is the minutes of an organization should contain a record of what is done and not what is said. They should contain the following facts: the name of the organization, the kind of meeting, regular, special, annual, or adjourned, the time, place, and date when the meeting was called to order, the name of the presiding officer, all motions, whether carried or lost, the names of the persons making the motions, and the name of the seconder, points of order and appeals, whether sustained or lost. A motion which was withdrawn should not be recorded. Record the results of the voting on each side when the vote is taken by roll call, ballot, or division. These are our guidelines for American Nurses Association, the Georgia State Nurses Association, and in our 5th District manual that was adopted by this organization. What is your wish regarding the minutes as read?
Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that the minutes not be accepted as read until they are brought into order as usually outlined in our manual. Second motion.
Did you have this in writing? I don't believe the membership can hear. Can you hear them acting on the tape?
I'm not sure.
Is a manual which is put out by the Georgia State Nurses Association meant in connection with the acceptance of motions and the making of motions in the 5th District bylaws. Does it not say, or does it include the manual from the Georgia State? I know that there is a manual, but do our bylaws not state that either by the bylaws
things to pay for me, right?
We have a motion that we're waiting to come down, we're just, talking. But we have a motion on the floor. Yes, we have, as soon as it comes down. No, this other one, we deferred action on this, on that fourth motion.
Yes.
Until the minutes were read. So we have a motion on the floor now. Well, we took care of this, I thought in our substitute motion. The substitute motion was that we defer action on that present motion until the minutes are read. So now the motion on the floor is Dr. Ford's motion, which I don't believe has been read. All right, we'll go back to our original motion, but just a minute. Yes.
In light of this that you have read there, which says that it is not possible to incorporate this in the minutes according to the present bylaws, I think my motion is out of order because it's already taken care of. The bylaws you have says that this cannot be incorporated in the minutes anyway. So why vote on whether it can or can't when it's already been determined?
The bylaws don't say that. Well, are you withdrawing your motion, Ms. Fuller, or you want to go ahead and ask them?
I withdraw my motion in light of this motion that will take care of it, because I think your manual says that they cannot be incorporated, and I don't think whether this body voted that they could or couldn't would make any difference, they still can.
Ms. Collins, I think we're all under the law of the land. The Congress of the United States is fully recorded in the congressional record.
I would say
My understanding, we got to go with the law of the land. I make a motion to throw them out unconstitutional.
Madam Chairman, may I make a motion?
Well, let's do this first. I think we've got another one on the floor. If Ms. Ford, withdraws hers, we already have one motion on the floor. Was there a second to yours, Norma?
I have a motion that's unconstitutional, but just read it, it has to be according to the law of the land. Got to go with the law of the land.
Ms. Hagan,
Unconstitutional.
Madam Chairman, that vote was put in there determined.
I mean, they can always vote it down if they don't want to.
Was there a second to Ms. You seconded Ms. Bud? Now, listen to the motion that is before the group. I move that the minutes not be accepted as read until they are brought into order as outlined in the manual of 5th District Georgia State Nurses Association.
Ms. Garland, I object. I object because that's not true.
Well,
I move that the minutes be accepted as read by the secretary.
Substitute to this same motion, then we offer it as a substitute.
And these behind the scenes, no
Something for you, yes.
Well, I would just like to call the attention of the group that the American Nurses Association has in the past always had a verbatim report of the proceedings, so that this thing of saying discussion being in or being out of the minutes certainly would not in any way have any connection with ANA and their practices. I think that this is strictly the prerogative of the secretary. If she wants to put this in, I would certainly feel okay.
But there's a right and wrong way to do minutes. The ones that's been accepted by our organization has been the correct way. And the correct way does not call for, this type of information.
Unless it's pertinent, and those particular minutes that were read certainly were explanatory.
But there was no action taken, Ms. Jones.
It was a matter of discussion.
It was just, it wasn't even discussed, it was a matter of information.
Minutes are never voted on until the next meeting.
No.
I believe when we accepted the manual, I don't remember the exact motion, but I believe that when we accepted it as a body, we said that it should take precedence over all motions that had previously been made. So it seems to me that we have to abide by a manual.
Provided it's legal in the Lord's name.
The plaintiff's been called. Are you ready to end the debate? Yes. Do you understand the motion? The substitute motion. We'll act on the substitute motion first. The substitute motion is that the minutes be accepted as read by the secretary. That the minutes be accepted as read by the secretary. We voted. Are you ready to vote? Yes. Those in favor, please stand. Please first move those please today.
Count out loud. I didn't count. Sit up again and still count off. Start at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 17, 18, 24, 25, 26, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 63, 66, 67, 70, 71, 72, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 84, 86, 87, Ms. Hudson, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 92, 93, all right. Up here, 94, and you start 95. 96, 97, 104, back down here. 105. 106, anybody not call?
Did anybody not call the number?
Madam Chairman, if there's controversy on the vote, I think it should be put time.
Don't we have to have a two-thirds majority?
All right, what is the vote?
The vote is 123, noes, 124. Yes, and 124.
Yes, and 122.
But there's one difference. 124 yes, 123 no.
And I think you just have to vote.
Yeah, how many is your total number here? How many is your total number here? What they, you're supposed to have them down anyway, aren't you, in your minutes? Well, that would be right. According to the count, when I called the roll, and 246 voted. More have come in.
The parliamentarian has suggested that probably there was a discrepancy on the no vote. I wonder if we could take the no vote.
No, we'll take both. We'll take both. Take them both.
You can take the yes vote and subtract it from the vote.
Madam Chairman, I move the door is locked, that we will not have this disturbance of people coming in and throwing the votes out. If every hospital was notified that we were going to be permitted to come in any time just to get to vote, then that would be all right, but nobody was notified to that effect. And when people are not here for the meeting, I think it should be closed. Yes. Can you keep the door closed? Well, some doors don't have. Now, people are leaving, and we want you to vote on our thing. There's some doors on you that have to come in and vote. All right, well, let's go to this discussion.
That's right.
Draw straws.
Well,
think some of us know how.
Well, I think the time has come. All right. Let's vote again on the substitute motion made by Ms. Eden, seconded by Ms. Wright. That the minutes be accepted as read by the secretary. Now, those in favor of the substitute motion, will you please rise and do not sit down until you have called the number.
Start on the first row here. Where you want to start? Here? 1, 2, 3,
4, 5, 6, 7,
8,
9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31,
32, 33. Let's go.
35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 41, 42, 45, 46, 47, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 87.
Where's 87?
Where 88 are?
And 5 up here. Where's 100? 100, you all stay. In the back. Sit up here and sit down.
121, yes. The motion is lost.
I move the order. Jimmy. I move the order of the day.
All right, the order of the day has been moved. The next order of business is, report of the Committee on Nominations.
Madam Chairman, don't we have to vote on the other motion? The motion was lost, it seems we would now have to vote on the main motion.
Working? I withdraw that motion.
Madam Chairman, since the report of the nominating committee has been called for, I'd like to give it to The Committee on Nominations has prepared this ticket for our 5th District, Georgia State Nurses Association for the year 1965 and 66. For our president, you vote for one, of course. Ms. Genevieve P. Jones, Ms. Catherine Post. Second vice president, vote for one, Ms. Frances Alton, Ms. Frances Hammond. Treasurer, vote for one, Ms. Lucy Mace or Ms. Alice Morgan. Directors, you vote for three. Ms. Mary Scholar, Ms. Marie Dunstan, Ms. Dana Hudson, Ms. Elizabeth Langford, Ms. Carrie McCarter, Ms. Helen Pearson, Ms. Charity Wells. Chairman Committee on Nominations, you vote for one, of course, Ms. Kay Harper and Ms. Andy Zer.
You've heard the report of the nominating committee. This report was approved by the board at their meeting in session Tuesday afternoon. If any of you doubt the legality of the name of Ms. Hopper on here, I'd like to tell you that Ms. Hopper did resign from her position on the nominating committee, which makes the legality of her name appearing on the ballot as all right. Now, it's proper at this time to open the nominating committee's report to the body for any additional nominations. Let's pick up president first. Are there any additional nominations for president?
I'd like to move that the nominating committee's report be accepted and placed in nomination on the ballot as it's shown with
As the official ballot?
as the official ballot with consideration of
second. Second, Mr. Hall.
All right, for your committee on nominations. Then the only addition to the report of the nominating committee is the name of Nancy Mahaffey. Add this on your ballot, please, as a director.
Madam Chairman, every name has to be on this ballot, it has to be marked properly for.
Yes, this is right.
And you have to mark, one other thing, Madam Chairman, do we have to mark for every office?
Yes. This is,
Madam President, for the benefit of some of the members, would you read off the spelling of Ms. Nancy Mahaffey's name?
M-A-H-F-F-E-Y. Mahaffey. Nancy. Now, while you're marking your ballot, I would like to, appoint the tellers, if they have been notified. Mrs. Hooker will be chairman of the tellers. Mrs. Agnes Center, representing Private Gino State Mayor. Ann Stevens, representing Public Health. Charlotte Sykes, EACC section. And Bruce Smith from the administrative section. These people will please come get the ballot box. Take up the ballot. Yes, you do. Oh, no, you don't initiate one. No, your ballot, after you have checked, it has to be initialed by a teller. We have 5 tellers. Now, bring your ballot to a teller. We put it in the ballot box. Continue now with the order of business. And since our first vice president is not here, I ask Ms. Hammond if she would take the chair while I give you my report. My report will be brief, I can promise you this. I don't know of an outgoing president whose final words of wisdom are ever followed, so I'll try not to give you any final words of wisdom at this time. For the 4th time, it is again my privilege as president to bring you an annual report of this organization. This experience as president for 2 terms of office for me has been most challenging, discouraging at times, yes, but who isn't? When we attempt to meet our present day state needs, considering full well the implications for our profession in a adapting new knowledge and technology appropriate to nursing, with so few hands to do it. There are many activities, programs, such as a much-needed increase in membership for which we might be discouraged. But this membership has always come through, supporting both the financial help and in a wider coverage of representative membership. We will meet this problem in 1965 as we have in the past through the concerted effort of every member. You were made aware of our financial crisis in your notice of this meeting that I referred to in my opening remarks, stating, quote, for financial reasons, both the September and November issues of the district meter had to be canceled. Actual figures will be considered when Ms. Macy as treasurer gives her report. For this reason, committee and section reports will be summarized for your information that usually are circulated in the meter. And I know you will be interested to hear this. An outstanding job has been done by the faithful committee chairman, resulting in a new keen interest in district activities. This interest has been sustained by better attendance in most of the section meetings, as well as the district meetings. Certainly when 250 members attend a district meeting, interest is not totally lacking. I cannot believe the membership is asleep to its responsibility. A responsibility of a district president in the Georgia State Nurses Association is to serve on the state executive board and to keep her members informed of the important actions of the state board. At the executive board meeting of the Georgia State Nurses Association held August 13 and 14, two recommendations went from this membership from the executive board that was included in the president's report to the state board. One, that the state consider and adopt the American Nurses Association membership application form. Most of the districts were already using this form. And if you've seen it, you know that it's much more in detail than the one we have. Another recommendation that went from your board was that all correspondence, minutes, district minutes concerning the problems of the validity of the votes on the amendments to the bylaws be submitted to the Executive Board, Georgia State Nurses Association, for their study and recommendations to the Executive Board, 5th District, Georgia State Nurses Association, and 5th District, Georgia State Nurses Association. In compliance with this action taken by the 5th District Board, your president submitted to the Georgia State Nurses Association Board these recommendations, together with copies of correspondence, minutes, district meters, in fact, a large size shopping bag of material for distribution and the board's information. 3 hours of the board's time was taken in discussion of this request. The ruling of the state parliamentarian, which was read to you this afternoon, as read at the call meeting of the 5th District, April 29, was again read to the members of the Georgia State Nurses Association Board. Much discussion followed, during which I, as your president, included a request that Georgia State Nurses Association secure an opinion from the American Nurses Association. This request was made with the hope that an unbiased, objective opinion might be secured, since the ruling of the 5th District's legal advisor was questioned repeatedly. A motion was made, quote, that the opinion of the state parliamentarian, supported by 2 registered parliamentarians, 2 attorneys, be sustained and revisions suggested by the State Bylaws Committee be handled in proper channels. This motion was made, the question raised by Fifth District be referred to the American Nurses Association for an opinion, as well as adopt the recommendation made by Fifth District and secure an opinion from the American Nurses Association. This motion was carried. A third motion was made that this problem be referred to a committee of Georgia State Nurses Association to study in detail and bring recommendations back to the executive board. And this motion was lost. Thought you'd be interested to know this. As your president, I am deeply appreciative of the opportunity to have served the Fifth District and to participate in the programs and activities of our professional organization. It has certainly been a learning experience for me in public relations and in interpersonal relationships as well. As has been said, the accomplishments of these years are largely due to the efforts and excellent contributions of chairmen, members of the committee, the willing participation of the officers, and hundreds of members of our district. I would include a big thank you for Carolyn Atkins, Fifth District Executive Secretary. She has really tried hard to keep me in line. Where she has failed, please don't hold this against her. To each and every member, I extend a sincere thank you for your interest and cooperation during the past 4 years. Only through the interest of everyone can the district attain its objectives. Membership, we have been honored with the stewardship of our president. We're indebted to her and to the cause for which she served. Thank you. Thank you so much. We'll ask the secretary at this time to give the report of the board.
Fifth District GSNA Executive Board had their annual meeting September 7th at 4:30 p.m. St. Joseph's Infirmary. 14 members were present. The chairmen of different committees gave their reports and will bring them to you today. The most important thing I think discussed at our executive board meeting Tuesday was Ms. Garland brought to us a map showing the proposed redistricting of our districts of GSNA, and the recommendation was made there that it be brought to this body today for you to see, to discuss.
At this time, we'll listen to Ms. Mays, our treasurer.
Fifth District, Georgia State Nurses Association, Treasury Report for August 1965. Brought forward through July, $1,935.30. Received membership dues, $617.50.
Those in favor of placing this report on the file, please say aye. Contrary, no. Thank you.
Next report is the nurse's professional register of the Fifth District. Financial report for August 1965. Previous bank balance, $9,607.21. Membership dues and billheads, $397.69. Total, $10,004.90. Disbursement, salary, $1,595.36. Rent, $125. Telephone, $49.25. District Director, Internal Revenue, $289.58. A flower spray for J. Evelyn Smith, $8.89. Total, $2,068.08. The disbursement this month was $2,068.08. Cleared outstanding checks, $588.52. Total, $2,656.60. Balance in bank, $10,004.90. Less disbursements, $2,556.60. Total, $7,348.30. Bank balance of August 31st, 1965, $7,967.90. Outstanding checks, $619.60. Leaving a total, $7,384.34. These figures agree with the bank statement and the bank book. I move this report be accepted.
Question? Those in favor, please say aye. Contrary, no. Ms. Mace, would you like to give us your finance report since you're on the floor?
Since I'm reading, the Finance Committee of the Fifth District of GS&A met August 12th, 1965, at 10 a.m. in the district headquarters. The roll call present, Ms. Mace, Chairman, Mrs. Hall, and Ms. Rose Davis. An
members will be 1,332 members at 10 cents each. Now, the recommendations that were made from this committee was first to cash the bonds and transfer convention savings to district account to balance budget for 1965. After budget is back, any excess in savings over operational expense for 1965 be deposited in a savings account, Atlanta Federal Savings and Loan Company. Two, that no state delegate expense to A&A Convention 1967 and/or until the 5th District budget permits. Three, that we concur with membership promotion program if adopted by the GSNA. Four, that all work towards membership recruitment. I move this report and recommendations be accepted.
Second motion.
Is there discussion?
Madam President, before we can adopt this, I would like to move that we rescind the motion that was made on January the 12th, 1960. A lot of y'all weren't here then, don't know what they were. It was when we got this convention fund and deposited in the bank, we said that it was to be spent for conventions only. And we will have to rescind that motion for this adoption to be adopted.
You offer this as a session.
I'll substitute motion right now that we do rescind the motion of January 16, 1960.
Second, Ms. Allison. Mr. Mayor.
Madam Chairman, how much we have in bond?
$1,600.
Madam Chairman, do we know how much is in the convention fund? How much in the convention fund?
We have 3,600, Ms. Meeks may have the figures there, 3,600, and we owe them 1,800 that was borrowed last year.
And the tax on that 1,800 up to date makes the total $1,740.47. You see, the district has been running in the red for many, many years. Before we have this meeting, I asked Ms. Atkins, would she take time to give the committee an estimate of from, we'll take 12 or 14 years back before she went in office. And she gave back 12 years. And during that 12 years, there was 3 years that there was a little money, one time 300 and another time 250 or something like that that was over. But the other years, which made 9, run some into 1,500 and like that debt. So what has been happening each year is when the dues come in early, like many people pay dues, it has to be used for 65 instead of holding it over for 66. And the committee wanted to, with your approval, to once, and we hope for all, money and having to dip over into the next year all the time. And this year, I have been told, in the schools, there have been, in our district, 500 graduates. 30 have joined the district. Now, don't you think if everybody got busy and tried to get a few of these young ladies to become members, that we would more than cover the number that our budget is asking for?
I was thinking on the subject was that we were not going to spend all the money that we had in the bank. We were simply had to get this motion on the floor to get that money out of the convention fund. And what we did spend, something about it, we're going to put it back in the bank. Be put back in a savings fund.
Madam Chairman, I move that the Finance Committee examine I'm in accord with getting all the members we can, but if we should fall short at the middle of the year next year, would it be possible for I move that the Finance Committee reconsider this budget and bring it into line with the number of members we have on the 1st of June, so as not to overspend what we have.
Madam Chairman, that's the third motion before the House. Will we do that?
Two, I believe, maybe.
We have one to accept her report, we have one to rescind.
That's right.
This is the third one. Can we do that?
I will hold my motion until it's in order, Madam Chairman.
Is there further discussion on the substitute motion? The motion of January 12th made by Ms. Aug, second by Ms. Mays, that the motion of January 12th, 1960 concerning convention fund be rescinded. Are you ready to vote on this? Question's been called. Those in favor of the substitute motion, will you please stand? That the motion of January 12, 1960, concerning the convention fund be rescinded, so that we can have on the way. Make it out. I believe we are unanimous with the exception of that. Is that three, Jimmy? Three and 4, 5.
Oh, no, there's one back here before.
Let's go. All right. And I believe this motion is carried.
Madam Chairman,
Now, we're back to Ms. Mays' motion. Did you want to
seconded that, Carol?
Now, I've been real quiet tonight, you'll have to admit, haven't I?
The motion reads that the Finance Committee examine the expenditures of the district on June 1, 1966, and revise the budget to bring it in line with the membership at that time, so that there may not be a deficit at the end of the year. We have a second for this, and this is a substitute for Ms. May's motion
I
to accept
second.
the budget. Yes, it's the second on here. Is there discussion of Ms. Hudson's motion?
Madam Chair, I'd like for Mr. Mason to explain to the group a little bit more about the budget, so we would know, just what went into the Finance Committee already preparing this budget. They spent a lot of time on this budget, and if it's not possible to cut it out, I'd like for her to discuss it with her.
Money takes this.
She wants you to tell what the finance committee did to come up with these recommendations.
I don't understand what you want of me.
Sister Kristen, would you raise your question again?
Ms. Mason, when the Finance Committee drew up the budget, I wanted you to kind of explain to us why they, drew it up the way they did. Did they feel that this was a practical, workable budget, or what went into it?
I don't question the budget, I'm in favor of the budget.
We just tried to draw up a budget that would carry us through the year. There is always different figures that when one doesn't match, the other can be drawn from. But I feel sure that this Hudson's motion, or substitute motion, or whatever you want to call it, is passed. That, and if the budget is studied at the end of 6 months to try to rearrange it, which is a good suggestion, that we can live within whatever we have, regardless of what we have to do to live with it. But it's the past figures that has caused us to ask for what we've asked for. Is to get it straight and not let new officers come in with the same thing, drawing and trying to make ends meet when there's nothing to meet the ends with. And if we can just once get straight, I believe that it can be done.
Does that answer your question, sister?
If we vote on this motion on the floor, can we go back and vote on the one about the
Yes, I don't think these motions are in conflict at all. Do you understand that way, Ms. Hudson?
No,
I didn't know, they're not in conflict.
I'm in favor of the budget, but if
Yeah,
we find
that's right.
ourselves on the verge of it.
This is what I think, no, it's not. These motions are not in conflict. Let's go ahead and vote then on Ms. Hudson's motion, since it was the last one, and we'll go back to adopting the budget. Is this all right?
Susan question. Ms. Garth,
The question's been called.
Well, I'd like to rise the point about the disorder we have it down here.
With the question's been called, we're gonna vote on Ms. Hudson's motion.
Okay.
Do you understand Ms. Hudson's motion? This is not in conflict bring it into line with the membership at that time, so that there may not be a deficit at the end of the year. The question's been called. Those in favor of this, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. Motion's carried. Now we'll go back to the original motion. To adopt the budget and the recommendation. Ms. Allen. The question's been called. Are you ready to vote on this?
Yes.
Those in favor of adopting the budget with the recommendations from the Finance Committee, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. Motion carries. Now we're ready for the register.
Nurses Professional Register, 5th District, GSMA, budget of 1966. Rent, 1,500. Telephone and telegraph, 600. Postage, 125. Paid cash, $10. Office supplies, 400. Office equipment, 200. Professional periodicals, American Journal of Nursing, $3. The Bolton Medical Association, $16.50, $20. Insurance, bonding physician schedule, $20. Insurance liability malpractice, $100. Taxes, Fulton County, $18.28. Taxes, City of Atlanta, $27.21. City of Atlanta, non-professional license, $48.50. Audit, $260. Miscellaneous, $200. Employers' contributions, Social Security, $800. Georgia Department of Labor, $100. Salaries for the director, $4,920. Registrar, $311, $4,380. Night registrar, 11 to 7, $4,380. Registrar relief, $4,200. Registrar relief, holidays, sick leave, and meetings, $20 per day, $3,400. Total, $25,708.99. The recommendations by this committee that if the register needs additional funds to balance the budget for 1965, that this committee be authorized to explore a meeting of meeting this need. Now, the reason why we say this, Ms. Rose Davis and I may not be your finance committee, and we would like to see both of these organizations in good financial standing to turn it over to the next person. That's the reason why we ask for the privilege. 2, that no member of the professional register be sent as a representative to ANA convention in 1966 and or thereafter until the budget permits. That a new typewriter, this is number
Those in favor of adopting the budget and the recommendations, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. Motion's carried. Thank you, Ms. Mays, for a job well done.
Are they going to announce the vote?
When the fellows did the report, see, they're still counting.
They will.
May we have a report from the executive secretary, please?
Well, as you've heard, our membership to date is 1,103 with 6 associates. Ms. Davidson, giving her report, will tell you about them. And one of the activities we've done, trying to recruit membership, was to send out 500 letters to the new graduates, congratulating them, also inviting them to join the district and send them the AMA subscription blank. During the year, we have visited the hospitals at least twice. Now, in order to save your postage, we have enough material from AMA that would fill the whole area there. And on Friday 2 weeks ago, I think it would take at least $90 to $100 to send this material to our 41 hospitals and health agencies in the district. So Ms. Davis helped me. We started about noon on Friday. We did the 15 or 16 the first day and the same number the next day. And I think our sister will tell you we ended up at Holy Family at 9 o'clock on Sunday night. So we sent out enough material there for recruitment. And I was just thinking today, if every member present brought in just one more member, we really wouldn't need to balance that budget. And one of the things, and one of the privileges I had in April was to attend the membership conference, which I considered one of the best meetings in all the 20 years that I've been attending national meetings. And you may be interested in what Tennessee is doing to recruit members. Now, whether you agree with this, and it doesn't necessarily mean that that person has to have a dues paid, but you may think about it, and it was proposed and recommended to the executive board of the state. Tennessee tried it and doubled their membership, and other states were greatly in favor. It has its advantages and disadvantages, but in so doing, if anybody brought in 4 new members and so desired, half of their membership dues were paid, being shared by the district and the state equally. You had nothing to lose. And for the person bringing in 8 new members, they paid the entire membership dues, which meant that everyone, there would be no excuse for anyone saying they couldn't join the association, whether they were in college or had husbands or helping them through school or other financial difficulties. Now, it may be that you can think of better plans, but that was one of the plans that they thought about there and has been proposed, and the matter in the state has been deferred. However, I'm telling you about it in case it comes up again, you have time to think about it. I've attended all meetings whenever possible. We've talked to the students whenever we've been invited. We have, perhaps many of you would like to know that in order to encourage membership with the new graduates, they are given 50% membership, which not only includes this year, which is the initial year, but they do not have to pay dues next year. So that might be an encouragement to the 500 that we have, and 500 from last year, we could get some of them to come on in. We have changed the addresses of over 500. It will be mandatory that you have your zip code. They've given us a little more time, but I think one thing this audience should know, that if you wait until you send your dues in, your ANA card will be delayed, because every other organization in Atlanta, as a rule, has a renewal in January. And until we can get the corrected addresses in place, there's always a delay. So when we send your statements out, we're going to ask that you notify us now in order that your addresses may be changed and be in order. When your card comes in, it'll be in the mail within 1 hour. And all ANA cards have been mailed. We sent in some on August the 30th. The ANA card was mailed on the 1st. Now, if you haven't received them, you call the state and ask for a duplicate, because we only have, as Ms. Davis will tell you, 4 applicants, and 1 member has paid her dues since the report went in on August 30th. So all ANA cards have been mailed that have been cleared to the office. We have, the books are up to date.
It's been a very busy year. We want to invite you to come down to see what is going on your behalf. We feel it is your organization and your headquarters. And I would like to make this statement now that our newly elected president and treasurer, please see me after the meeting just for about 2 minutes. We need your signatures for the bank account. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Atkins. May we have a report of the program committee, Ms. Hanks? Madam President, membership. There were 5 meetings conducted this year. These jointly with the Committee on Careers and planning accordingly. There were 3 distinct aims set forth to present informative programs, to actively involve the membership, and to bring recognition to outstanding members. There were 4 specific areas of program planning. Splendid, timely program on elderly care was the first presentation of the year. 9 clinical sessions planned and dedicated to agencies in the community or afforded this opportunity. The commemorative program that presented to us the Nurse of the Year program with recognition as our Nurse of the Year, Maddie Louise Wade, the Public Health Department, and a service of dedication with the Reverend Harwood Bartlett bringing this very excellent and inspiring message that is received in this church and those who participated. We experienced some difficulties in bringing the membership together to a plan. We had one outstanding activity in November meeting, and presumably the 3rd week in November will be set aside for such traditional activity as the dinner, and the planning will be forthcoming. This committee does not carry recommendations but suggestion that every effort be made to implement the adoption of the bylaws with decision. The hope that we may present a positive, ongoing educational program for the membership, and certainly special commendations given to all who participated, but to the executive secretary and her effort in making this a successful program year. Thank you. No, it does not carry the recommendation. Do you have a report from the printing committee?
We've had very little printing, no new printing, actually, just your 2000 scheduling cards and your 2 issues of the meter. And it has been suggested that we design some type of card, either by mimeograph or printing or whatever it is, to get your next of kin and who to notify an emergency. Now, we've had that even this week to come up. We've had people who've had fires in their home. Children have been lost from the kindergarten, and we've been called upon to try to locate the nurse who was on duty. So there have been so many instances, we feel that that information would be very valuable to be in the headquarters as well as on the district. But that is all the printing that we've had, just the routine cards.
Ms. Hudson, you have a report from legislative